we are going straight to the tactical analysis. PSG came with the traditional 4-3-3 lineup. 4-3-3, everybody knows 4-3-3. We came from 4-4-2 to 4-3-3, and 4-3-3 usually gives any team the right balance. It has 4 defenders, 3 midfielders, and 3 attackers. It's a balanced squad. Now, with us, we also came with our pseudo 4-3-3 because we played differently when attacking and when defending. PSG were all attacking. You know, their fullbacks usually attack. Like you'll find Hakimi at the farthest or Mendes at the farthest making those crosses. But with us, we had 4-3-3. Now, I'm just explaining when we had possession. Because every time from minute 1, we were always pressing. And I'll just make a quick thing before we go into detailed analysis. When we had possession, Malo Gusto formed like a pseudo winger. It was like a right wing back. Then we had Pedro Neto as a left wing back. Then we had Joao Pedro like nearly at the center, but just at the right side. And I'll tell you why that worked. Then we had Enzo nearly playing as another 10 and Cole Palmer as another 10. Then you had Reece James and Caicedo covering up. So when we had possession, we were playing like 3-4-3, but it was 3-4-2-1, something like that. But when we lost possession, again, Pedro Neto became the left wing back, something like that. Then Malo Gusto became the right wing back. Then Reece James and Caicedo are covering here. Then Cole Palmer and Enzo were covering somewhere like that. And then you had Joao Pedro there. So it was like a 5-4-1. Are we getting in? But it was a variation of those. Now, every time you were just pressing, the PSG had most of the ball for the entire 90 minutes from first half to second half. And we were pressing. And whenever we pressed, we were going man to man. I've told you, like I was watching, it was so detailed. I was like on my lock, like everything, just seeing everything. We were going man to man. Now, our man to man was very, you'll say different. Like Pedro was somewhere between Hakimi and Doi. He was marking Hakimi, but at times he will come back and mark. Cucurella was on Doi every time. Enzo was on Vitinha every time until Vitinha started moving to the right wing. After, in second half, he started moving to the right wing. And even at the end of first half, because he was not getting any chance, and they figure out that there was a big problem with Beraldo. But I'll tell you why there was a big problem with Beraldo. Now, Enzo was on Vitinha. Caicedo was on Neves. I've done this thing back around. Reece James was on Ruiz. Now, Pedro was on Beraldo every time. Pedro was on Beraldo. Malo Gusto was on Mendes. You had Tosin covering Kelly or somewhere like that. Then you had Colwell with Dembele. Now, PSG had a person who was not man-marked, like always had space, Marquinhos. But now, here's why we won most of the games, because Marquinhos was free most of the games. But then again, he didn't have influence in our attacking side. Like, he was not making those, you'll say, through passes. He had the ball, but every time he got the ball, nobody would mark him, or nobody would. So he will just try to get the ball to Donnarumma or try to find somebody else. Now, on our side, because Marquinhos had a lot of space, we had Palmer, who had a lot of space. Nobody was marking Palmer. Now, the problem is, whenever Mendes tried to move to mark Palmer, he will free Malo Gusto. And Marquinhos will not move anywhere. Whenever Beraldo will try to get to Malo Gusto, Pedro was on him. So every time we had somebody around here, whether it was Malo Gusto on the right wing, whether it was Malo Gusto or Palmer, somebody was always free. And when that happened, it was on their side, like we were attacking. We had a free striker, they had a free defender, but it was on different side. So Marquinhos always tried to come and try to help Beraldo. And now we had some little space like here, like whenever on the left side, because Hakimi will come back and then you'll find Pedro had a whole lot of space on his side, but we didn't use that wing because I think, I don't know, in the interviews they were talking like they wanted to use the right wing, but even in left wing at some point Pedro had a lot of space. Now this is why we created those chances. This is why we freed Cole Palmer, and I'm just waiting to note if the same thing will happen when the season starts. Like if we'll play with Palmer as a pseudo right wing, because that worked. And this game is how we played with Flamengo, but it did not work because I don't know what happened with Flamengo. They were defending, most probably. They were defending most of the time, but it worked with PSG because they always see themselves, they exalt themselves. They see themselves as the better team. So there's no need to defend. There's just a lot of time to work. Now, how we scored, I've told you Cole Palmer was free. For the first goal, they were attacking us, like we had Tosin back, Braskelly back, Colwell, Dembele, like the same way, the same man marking just on our side. The same thing just on our side. And you cannot. So every time we were, what you'll say, like we were pressed to our half. Again, you'll find that Cole Palmer was always free and Mendes and Gusto was always free. So in this time, whenever Sanchez got the ball, he will just make a huge cross to this side, to the right wing, where Malo Gusto was or where Palmer was. So the first goal, how we scored, is because Malo Gusto got better of Mendes and ran. And because Beraldo was covering, I think Vitinha, was it Vitinha or Beraldo? I think it was Beraldo. I'll just check. I want to check. I don't want to be wrong. Let me check. Yeah, it was Beraldo. Then Marquinhos was around there, but Pedro now had opened. Now Mendes was behind. Palmer, who was always free, was now free. Malo Gusto had moved, so closer to Donnarumma. I thought he was going to shoot, but then he tried this thing. It didn't work. Passed back where Cole Palmer is usually dangerous, and he scored. And then the same thing happened for the second goal. And then the same thing happened for the third goal. He was again free, and Pedro was just moving around. Like, it was simple. I don't know how the coach will not, like PSG coach, like Luis Enrique, will not figure out, like, this is why these people are bettering us. I know in second half they tried to cover it up, and Vitinha just started moving around here, and they freed. And I think by that time we were tired already. Like a lot of the players were tired. Like Enzo was running on fumes. Pedro Neto was running on fumes. Like they worked really hard for that win. And everybody is saying like, how do you win? You win if you want to win. If you want to win, like you will push yourself so much. In another day, we will come to this game and start defending. And we will concede 4 goals. This was just as much as tactics allowed us to create spaces, allowed us to uh, like mute or like just nullify any PSG attack. As much as all those tactics allowed us to do that, most of the times they didn't work and we made several mistakes. It's just that, again, PSG at some point, I don't think they expected us to come at them that quickly, that fiercely in the first 5 or 10 minutes. In the first instance, we made several mistakes, and you could see nearly around, I think, the 15th or 16th or 17th minute. Doe and Dembele, it was 2 versus 1 at some point, because in a bit to man mark or to press or to man mark, I think Enzo just moved too closer to Marquinhos. And then we had somebody, I don't know if it's Malogusto or somebody, or he had just another person at the center. So Caicedo was marking, and then Levi Colwill started going to Neves. And Mendes crossed. Mendes beat Malogusto and crossed the ball, and then it landed on Due. And instead of, I think it's just the mentality. If you want to win, sometimes these chances, like that chance, you will not miss that chance. And if they had scored the first goal, then it will be a different. Of course, we'll come back and win. Like this was just written that we had to win this game. We had to win this game to save football,